Eugene, Oregon, 1991. Retired marketing director Gerald Houghton dies in the bathroom of his residence in a bizarre, unsettling way. He appears to have been incinerated and half absorbed into the wall adjacent to his shower. Is it an accident, murder, or a malevolent act of the house itself?
When an abandoned industrial building is cleared for demolition, a locked door is discovered in its basement. The door conceals an archive of strange and disturbing specimens, recordings, photos, and documentary films. Compelling evidence of monstrous creatures and preternatural events. The documentarian's whereabouts remain unknown. In his records, he identifies himself only as the Teller. His investigations reveal a brightening world of dark secrets.
August 7th, 1994. I received an anonymous package containing an audio recording of a troubling 911 call.
911, what's your emergency? Calm down, ma'am. What's wrong with your husband? Ma'am, I really need you to calm down so we can help you. Is your husband missing?
Retired fireman Clarence Toger spoke with me about that terrible evening. His account is believable and compelling.
It was July 12th. The call came in late in the afternoon, early evening, and we were on scene within 7 minutes. You could hear screaming coming from inside. So we forced entry to the front door. The hallway was full of smoke. You couldn't see all the way down the other end of the hallway. The smoke was so thick. And there was an older woman inside that was hysterical. She was screaming, carrying on about her husband being in the room. Our first concern was to get her out of the smoke, get her into clean air. We immediately went back inside to look for her husband, and we didn't see flames or fire coming out, but it was still heavy smoke. As the smoke started to clear a little bit, we noticed the body. It was just a charred mess. You couldn't even hardly tell it was human. It was almost like it was melted or burnt itself into the wall as it was standing there. The stench was so bad, it would make the bile rise in your stomach. That is the worst scene I've ever seen, and I wake to it at night. Still, I'll never be able to forget that.
Firefighters tell me that burning muscle tissue gives off an aroma similar to beef in a frying pan, and body fat smells like a side of fatty pork. Hair contains cysteine, a sulfur-containing amino acid. The noxious smell of burnt hair can cling to the nostrils for days. According to Joan Houghton's statement, up until the incident, July 12th is quite a normal day for the retired couple at their suburban home. Work in the yard for Gerald, and volunteering at the church for Joan. At 5:30 p.m. they have dinner. After dinner, they customarily walk Pepper, their Scottish terrier. But Pepper disappeared about a month earlier. They are still regularly calling local animal shelters for news. At 7:30, they watch Wheel of Fortune together, But before the show is over, Gerald heads off to the bathroom, complaining he isn't feeling well. Minutes later, Joan hears what she describes as a rumble and calls out to Gerald to see if he is okay.
Larry!
Then there is smoke and the smell.
I'm sending the fire department, ma'am. If there's a fire in the house, I need you to get yourself out. A fire truck and ambulance are on the way. I need you to get out of the house.
It would be too late for Gerald Houghton. Detective William Jenkins of Eugene PD is the lead investigator on the case.
What we saw in that bathroom was like nothing I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of things. Mr. Houghton was completely burned. He was upright, and it looked like he was halfway embedded into the wall. His feet weren't even on the floor. They were 6 or 8 inches or so above the floor. It was mind-boggling. So the coroner arrived and they examined the body. Normally at that point, the coroner's office, after documenting what they saw and taking photographs and doing all their initial evaluation of the scene, would take the body back to the coroner's office. In this case, we were trying to figure out what to do because we were also thinking if we try to pull it off the wall, it's going to start falling apart. So we decided to cut it out of the wall. And we called one of the firefighters back that was still standing by outside because they have tools, they have big saws and skill saws and chainsaws. So the fire department came in and they worked with a skill saw, and the blade wouldn't cut through the drywall, especially not that close to Mr. Houghton's body. And they destroyed a couple of blades, and then they started operating then with a chainsaw.
This is puzzling information. What made standard drywall impenetrable?
And it took several hours, but eventually they were to bash the wall all the way around. And it wasn't pretty, but we were able to pull it out of there.
The uncanny condition and position of Houghton's body lead police to explore every possibility. Houghton's $500,000 life insurance policy and reported disagreements with his wife even put murder on the table. But Gerald Houghton was physically strong, and Joan is not. And her sweet nature as a church daycare volunteer makes it seem out of character for her.
At no time did I think that she was hiding anything or that she was trying to cover anything up. She didn't appear guilty of anything, even any guilty knowledge.
The crime scene is unspeakably gruesome. The police rule out both murder and suicide. I agree, but if it's not foul play, what other evil force could have incinerated Gerald Houghton? The home of Gerald and Joan Houghton is a gruesome and puzzling scene. Mr. Houghton seemingly has been set on fire and absorbed into the bathroom wall. Some investigators believe this is a case of spontaneous human combustion, the burning of a living human body without any apparent external source of ignition. Over the last 3 centuries, some 200 cases of SHC have been reported. These remains of Dr. John Bentley were discovered in Coudersport, Pennsylvania in 1966. The spot where the body lay is burnt, but the rest of the room, including the toilet, was not even scorched. This graphic evidence indicates a quick, hot flame devoured the body in seconds. Only the bottom of one leg remained to identify this as a human being. However, in the Houghton case, arson investigator Vic DeMarco dismissed this as the cause.
All the evidence, it is what it is. He said he's feeling ill. He's feeling lightheaded. He's a heavy smoker. Part of the reason why he's feeling lightheaded. He goes in the bathroom. He's doing his business, who knows? He has a heart attack. He falls forward. And he gets impaled on a hook. His cigarette hits his clothes, sets his clothes on fire, and there he burns. There's nothing spiritual. This is nothing abnormal. You just look at what you have. Don't jump to conclusions.
DeMarco is dismissing this case too easily. It doesn't make sense. There seems to be another agenda for these public officials. Internal memos I acquired from a source within the police department show a desire on the part of city officials to close the matter as quickly and quietly as possible. Eugene doesn't need a haunting urban legend built around an unsolved death. Such things are not good for local morale or re-election.
There was the politics of this case, and the fact that our mayor is a real estate agent, and she's concerned about real estate prices more than really what happened in this. They just want to make it go away and make it quiet. So those things are really disheartening, especially when you're trying really hard to figure out what happened.
We were instructed that we were not to report any particulars about it. We weren't supposed to talk about it. We were supposed to treat it as if it never happened.
Detective Jenkins continued to be haunted by the horrific death and could not dismiss this so easily.
The strangest thing was that when he was on that wall in the bathroom, we even took some measurements, and his face was probably 4 inches out, at least 4 inches out of the wall. And his chest was probably 3.5 inches out from the wall, where the wall would have been if it was flat. At the coroner's office, it seemed like it had gone farther into the wall. It had moved farther into the wall. Sometime between the time we cut him out and the time we got him to the coroner's office and they took photos there, he had collapsed another probably 1.5 inches into the wall. After being told by several people, politicians, chiefs, and others involved, including my wife, I decided to pull the plug, and I did. I retired.
With her husband lost in a harrowing, mysterious incident, and the police unwilling to further explore it, Joan Houghton takes matters into her own hands, and her investigation leads to an intriguing and terrifying truth. Joan Houghton is unwilling to accept the mysterious death of her husband as a smoking accident, and she launches a personal crusade for answers. Her daughter Rebecca details her mom's investigation for me.
The sort of local politicians with the police, there's a lot of infighting, and I think the local politicians just sort of wanted to sweep it under the carpet. It doesn't look good for a small little town. But the police tried to do what they could, and I followed it really closely because obviously I wanted to find out, what had happened to my dad. My parents bought the house in the late 80s, I think it was 1987. And I don't know, my mom never liked the house. There was something about it that she always felt was a bit strange or something, I don't know. She always referred to it as the box or the shell just because she didn't think there was any warmth or soul to it. And she's very spiritual, and I don't know if it has something to do with that or she's kind of got this sense about people and even animals. It doesn't surprise me that she thought there was something about the house that was a bit strange.
The first thing Joan Houghton does is move out of the house. She takes up residence with Bess Hamilton, a friend of hers from church, and begins her investigation in earnest. The law enforcement documents that Joan Houghton obtains convey a suspicious story about Raymond Gleason, the home's previous owner. Gleason, at the time, is a divorced man in his mid-50s. According to his neighbors, he keeps odd hours and is frequently out of town on business. He's been questioned in the disappearance of a furnace repairman who was last seen on his way to the house for a maintenance appointment. Gleason admitted that he had scheduled an appointment with the company, but he denied seeing the man, saying that the worker never showed up that day. The repairman's abandoned truck was found parked just a few blocks away. Once again, I see the political machine at work. With no evidence or discernible motive, the police dropped Gleason as a person of interest in the repairman's disappearance.
My mom, she remembered that Mr. Gleason was the previous owner. He was eager to sell the place. He gave him a really good price, and he didn't seem to sort of disagree with any of the terms that they had. But they looked through the whole house. They checked out the bedrooms and hallways, and they really did a thorough once-over, as you do when you're buying a house. And everything seemed fine. But she said that he seemed a bit jittery when they asked about this ladder leading into the attic. My mother thought that after my dad was killed, that maybe the attic had some answers. So she would not be able to climb up that ladder to the attic because she's too frail to do that. So she called Sandy Kasdan, who is a bit of a handyman. He's helped my dad around the house a lot, like the yard work and painting the house and things. And so he went up into the attic with a camera.
Mr. Hoskins asked me to go to the attic to check it out. So I brought my camera up there to check it out. I saw a burn mark on the floor, shaped like the human body, so I took a picture of it. I started coming down the attic, I started crawling on the floor. My hand got stuck, no apparent reason. And I felt pain shoot right through it, like that. And it felt like glue was just holding it there. So I tried to rip it back, and it just wouldn't let me go. So I ripped harder, and I got free. So I scurried out of the attic fast as I could, just to show her the picture, the burn mark.
What Sandy Kasdan finds in the attic are the scorched remains of the furnace repairman. The site is much more subtle than that of Mr. Houghton. It consists mostly of a shadowy human silhouette on the attic's plywood floorboards.
When my mom heard about the repairman's remains, she never went back to the house. And the police tried to find Mr. Gleason, but he just had completely disappeared off the grid. Nowhere to be found.
Gleason, in fact, had died. Days after closing the sale of his home to the Houghtons, he transferred his $740,000 life savings into a bank in Switzerland and moved into a secure apartment building in Rennes, France. A few months later, he succumbed to alcohol poisoning alone in his one-bedroom flat, which was covered wall-to-wall with Catholic religious icons. I am certain that the death of Gerald Houghton is not a fluke, and I redouble my efforts to solve this bizarre mystery. I am now sure that the strange death of Gerald Houghton is far more than an isolated incident. I scour the property for evidence of other victims and find one more. A silhouetted pair of child-sized hands on the edge of the front porch. It's as if the victim was dragged below the soil of the front landscaping feet first and was gripping the porch to keep from going under. I suspect that it is 10-year-old Tommy Hipple, who lived in a nearby neighborhood and disappeared during the time that Raymond Gleason owned the home. Tommy vanished when he was in the area selling candy to raise money for Little League uniforms. But it is less dramatic clues that really make the puzzle take shape. I find faint outlines of small animals on the roof, and at the base of the exterior siding of the home, And Sandy Caston gives me more information about Gerald Houghton and the big change he had recently made to his backyard.
Jerry, he was fanatic about his garden and stuff. He took great pride in it. So, yeah, every time there was a contest, Jerry, took pictures and stuff and sent it to magazines and stuff, hoping to win and stuff. But there's Rodisky gardening in his garden, like cats, squirrels, and raccoons and stuff. Got him really mad, upset, because he loved his garden, Jerry. So he put this big exotic fence. He kept a majority of the map, but then some keep coming in, keep jumping over.
My dad was a huge gardener. His garden was his pride and joy, and yeah, he would just spend his days out there sort of weeding and planting and just kind of keeping an eye on how things were growing. And even when he was relaxing, he'd sort of sit on the back porch and with his cigar and a pellet gun as well, so he could sort of fight off any stray varmints that should cross the lawn and try and, wreck his flowers.
1 month after he put that fence up, stuff started happening to his house. The roof started leaking, water tank stopped working. Many things kept happening to his house.
A few months after that, their dog Pepper disappeared, and yeah, of course they were really distraught about that. And like the light bulbs started burning out all the time. One side of the house seemed to just settle, so like the moldings pulled away from the ceiling. It was just that one side. And then the hot water line broke, so there's water kind of spilling into the hallway. And yeah, my parents they just argued more and more, and because of all the things that had to be fixed, but money was already tight, and it wasn't a great situation for them.
I know now that arguments about money had nothing to do with Gerald Houghton's death. Houghton had built a fence around the backyard, leaving the house unable to feed on small animals. I have developed a chilling theory about Gerald Houghton's mysterious death and the house that took him. Contrary to what Joan Houghton suggested, the house is not haunted. There are no spirits wandering its halls. I liken it rather to an enormous cursed object, like a voodoo totem that burns your hand. The house does not have intelligence, but it has intention, a malicious and primal will of its own. It grudgingly accepts its symbiotic relationship with people, but when it is hungry, it will do what it has to do.
My dad's life insurance wouldn't pay out because, the questionable nature of his death. My mom she let the house go. I mean, she didn't want to feed the house anymore, making the payments, and, kind of trying to sustain something that she just wanted no part of, and she just wanted it to die. So she let it go, and the bank foreclosed on it.
Following the foreclosure, the house sits empty for many months. Last I looked into it, the distressed property was purchased by a young attorney and his family. He reportedly wanted to get rid of the fence. His wife was in favor of keeping it. She thought an enclosed yard would be safer for their dog and 2 small children.